The state is requesting a final order on the issues before us, which involve non-disclosure, conservatorship, possession and access, and support for Ms. Morales' child. There is an acknowledgement of paternity in the file signed by Mr. Nash, so paternity is not an issue. And we did have at least 2 temporary orders in this case. Ms. Cusick was appointed as ad litem in the case. We would note that Mr. Nash currently has a criminal matter pending, which we believe is scheduled for June of this year. It's been reset a number of times. The prior temporary order reserved the issues of retroactive support and non-disclosure, though as it was a temporary order, the issues of current child support, medical support, conservatorship, possession and access are subject to change as well. Given the information we have at this time, and the number of times this case has been reset, the state does believe that a final order is appropriate. We have calculated retroactive support to be $79 per month based on an amount owed of $5,801.39.
5,000. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'll repeat. $5,801.39.
Okay, and repay at 79.
Right, that's what we propose.
Okay.
And then we've calculated current child support to be $181 per month, with cash medical of $28 per month. And that child support's based on minimum wage. Our understanding is that Mr. Nash is currently unemployed. We note that since the most recent temporary order, Mr. Nash has apparently had another child. So that makes 1 child inside this order, 2 children outside. So that's what we have at this time. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Litem.
Judge, when I spoke with everyone earlier in conference, the concerns that I had, and that the mother at that time, I don't know if she's spoken with Ms. Hopen since then about the numbers apparently, but the reason this has been reset is that it involved an allegation of domestic violence perpetuated by the father against the mother. And so I thought maybe it would be important to have that finding in order to do sole managing conservatorship, which is versus joint managing, which is currently what's happening under the temporary orders. Also, we have the issue of visitation. He currently is doing supervised visitation. And I believe the evidence will show that he is not consistently doing that supervised visitation, that he has done like maybe, I think 2 or 3 visits is what I've heard from the mother since the last time. So I don't see that this is ready to open it up, which usually on final orders, we try to set something up that allows for some growth. I don't know I don't think that we have the information to figure out if that growth is available. That being said, if the court does want to lock this thing down, we could, I would suggest locking it down like it is with a couple injunctions, like one of them about not smoking around the child, and then no corporal punishment. But then again, I guess if it's supervised, I guess we wouldn't have to have that.
No.
Go ahead, Judge.
No, I said no. In fact, I was saying if he doesn't want to show up and give his side of this and get involved in this, I want to go ahead and finalize this. And if he wants he wants additional things or additional rights as far as access is concerned in the future, beyond what we're doing here, yeah, that's called a motion to modify, and he can pay somebody to do it. And that way, he could have done it on the cheap, but now we got to do it the hard way, because I'll ask him, get some testimony from mom. I understand that he has a criminal matter pending. I just want to make sure it's not against this mother, and I want to make sure it's not a family violence pending. Okay, thank you.
And Judge, that's it. It did involve the mother in this case.
Okay, so it is a family violence circumstance, right?
Yes, Judge. And so she was going to ask for non-disclosure, I believe. I would be behind that as well. And then the only thing that harms my client is the fact that we're locking down all of this at unemployed child support. But honestly, I think there's been a lapse in payment anyway. So I think that probably locking it down while everything is protective on the visitation front I think is probably in my client's best interest. So if the court feels like the court has enough information to make a final order, I'm not opposed to that either.
Okay, well, let's get the information. Let's see if we get there. Because again, yeah, this one's been good. We've been under a further temporary order for a year and a month almost now. So yeah, it's time to put this one out to pasture if we can. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and ask Ms. Morales and Ms. Asmus to go ahead and raise their right hands, and let's get them under oath, and we'll take it from there. Ms. Morales, you need to unmute yourself, ma'am, and raise your right hand. All right, thank you. Do you both solemnly swear or affirm your testimony you're going to give here today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth will help you?
Yes, sir.
All right, you're both officially under oath. You can put your hands down, and I'll go ahead and let Ms. Hopkins go ahead and call your first witness. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll call Ms. Asmus first. And has she been qualified?
Both of them been sworn, yes, ma'am.
All right.
But she has not been proven up as an expert today.
Okay.
This is her first case today. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Ms. Asmus, where do you work?
For the Office of Attorney General,
What is your job title?
Child Support Officer.
What are your job duties in that position?
My work involves conducting detailed investigations to locate absent parents, establishing paternity, filing to enforce court orders for child support and medical support, and responding to customer inquiries and wage investigations.
Did you perform a wage investigation in this case?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay. And what did you find?
For Q1 of 2025, I found $495. For Q4 of 2024, it was $10,752. For Q3 of 2024, it was $6,269. For Q2 of 2024, it was $5,953. For Q1 of 2024, $6,454. For Q4 of 2023 is $6,829.18. For Q3 of 2023 is $6,471.56. For Q2 of 2023 is $4,415.20. For Q1 of 2023 is $290.58. For Q4 of 2022 is $6,469.37. For Q3 of 2022 is $13,798.93.76. For Q2 of 2022 is $12,902.62. For Q1 of 2022 is $4,242.48.
May I ask, on Q2 of 2024, is that $5,954?
Which quarter? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Q2 of 2024.
5,954.
That's what I had, but I'm told it probably won't make a difference, but I just figured I'd check.
Any other questions, Ms. Hopkins?
I don't think so. As Asmus, I guess, were you going to check that one amount? And if you think it's 5,953, I think that's okay.
Yes, ma'am. It is.
Okay, so it's 5,000.
953.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Right. And did your investigation reveal any earnings for Mr. Nash for the current second quarter of 2025?
No, ma'am.
Did you have any other findings you'd like to share?
No, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor. I pass the witness.
All right, Ms. Cusack, your witness.
I have no questions of this witness, Judge.
All right, then. Ms. Morales, do you have any questions of the CSO?
No, I don't.
All right, Ms. Hopkins, the math, the information I got there is not lining up with the math as far as the opening statement for current child support. This guy makes a lot more money than minimum wage. So, have y'all done the math on these amounts?
Well, we did the math for the retroactive support, but if you'd like me to do some math on the on the current, I'd be
Oh,
happy to.
what's the math? How far back in retro were y'all going, please?
Well, we were for retroactive, we were going from September 1st, 2022 through April 30th of 2024.
Okay, and what was the total amount?
The total amount, so we subtracted $500 based on a direct payment, but the total amount was, I think it was, for the retro was 6,000, let's see.
Okay, how many other kids this guy have?
He has two others, yeah. It's $6,301.39 was the total.
So we're looking at 16% times this kind of money. That doesn't seem like it's
well, the child, yeah. So I think the retroactive support, we based it on one child in, one child outside, because the second child was born later. I think it was, yeah.
So 17.5% against this kind of income doesn't say that off the top of my head, that should be closer to somewhere around 11 to 15,000. So what's the math? What's your math on this one, ma'am?
Well, yeah, I mean,
what did you do for his monthly average over that time frame?
The monthly, I mean, I can break it down for you if you'd like.
Okay.
Let's see. And this is just based on the child support.
Right.
So for Porter,
well,
so
got the quarter data. I was just looking for the average monthly for each of those years.
okay. So for quarter 3, 2022, we came up with, looks like it was $4,597.92 a month gross. And we only did that for 1 month because it was September 2022.
Okay.
So that was so we came up with $671.51 total
For that 1 month.
that
Okay, got it.
month. And then for quarter 4 of 2022, we came up with $2,156.46 per month gross.
Okay.
And that was it was like $328.88 per month in child support, and then we multiplied that by 3, so that was $986.64.
Okay.
And then quarter 1 of 2023, as Ms. testified, there was only like, I think, 200 something in wages.
So the
So we just
so
we just based that on minimum wage.
Okay.
And that came, so it was the gross $1,256.67. And we came up with $603.90. So it was like $201.30 times 3.
Okay.
And then for quarter 2 of 2023, the gross was $1,471.73. And that got us to, I think we came up with $232.29 for monthly child support times 3. So that was $697.17.
Okay.
And then quarter, let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, I'm still going. There you go.
All right, quarter 3 for 2023, the gross $2,157.19 per month. And then we came up with $332.79 per month in child support, multiplied that by 3, and that was $998.37.
Okay.
And then quarter 4 for 2023, a gross monthly of $2,276.39.
Sorry, Ms. Hobbins, can you repeat that again?
Sure, that was $2,276.39.
Thank you.
Sure. And I calculated monthly child support $347.53, multiplied it by 3, and I got $1,042.59. And then for first quarter of 2024, I have gross of $2,151.33. I came up with monthly child support of $331.30, multiplied that by 3, and I got $993.90. And lastly, for Q2 of 2024, since it was just 1 month, it would be April of 2024, I came up with gross monthly of $1,984.67, with the monthly child support being $307.31.
All right, there's a couple of months, the quarters in there. There's one quarter he got 13. Was it? Okay, that's not 13,000. He had a couple of outlying quarters. One was close. One was double digits, 14,000, 13,000. Which quarter was that?
I think that was there was one third quarter of 2022 and the second quarter of 2022.
And so
And what I did was I just divided by 3 to get the gross monthly.
and the gross monthly for those two were again.
Okay, so for the third quarter of 2022, I got $4,597.92.
Okay, 4,005. Okay,
And then for oh, sorry.
And that equaled out to how much each month?
That was well, yeah, 671 and 51. And since I just used 1 month for that quarter, just because my understanding was we were going from September 1st, 2022. Onward.
Okay, so just use the one for that one, and the other one they had the outlier.
I think that was at Q2. I think Q2 of 2022 was outside of the retro period. My understanding, and this is just from discussion, that the separation date between Mr. Nash and Ms. Morales was like approximately September 1st, 2022.
Okay, I got one quarter. You got 12,900 and some change. That was the second quarter.
Right, so that was before, yeah, that was before the retro period. In this case, that I calculated.
That was before separation.
Oh, okay. See, y'all gave me numbers before separation. That's what I'm saying. Those numbers weren't adding up on the average. Okay, all right, all right. But I said there's a couple outliers in there. The child support should have been closer to $1,000 a month. So I'm going. All right. So I'm sorry. That's my mistake. I was listening to all the quarters and getting all the math. I'm going, wait. All right, it just wasn't adding up right. So, all right then. All right. Anything else then?
No, Your Honor, and Ms. Asmus can be excused as far as I'm concerned.
All right. Anything else with the Schools Act?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Sorry about that again. I was just looking at all the numbers overall. I'm going, no, that's way off. Sorry about that. My fault.
No.
All right. You may call your next witness, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll call Ms. Morales. All right, Ms. Morales, please state your name for the record.
Sophia Morales.
And please state the name and date of birth of your child with Mr. Nash.
Tyler Nash Jr., 5/5/2022.
Okay, and is he referred to as TJ?
Yes, TJ.
So, Your Honor, if I use TJ, that's the child's name. Okay, and the child's father is Mr. Nash?
Yes.
One of the issues we have before us has to do with non-disclosure, so I'll just ask this. Has Mr. Nash been violent with you in the past?
Yes.
Okay, and can you please explain?
So we had some occasions before he ended up getting charged. But those I didn't call the cops on him. I didn't report it because I was still with him. And he would ask me to just forgive him. He broke his hand before when he had got upset about watching my son because that's whenever we had separated and I was trying to find a job because I was still on maternity leave. And then the occasion that happened on the day that he had physically put his hands on me, he had got upset because I was telling him that he needed to leave because we were no longer together, and he was upset, and then that's when we had got into a physical what is it called? I guess I'm trying to find the word for it, but altercation. And he ended up going to Tumble PD because I had told him that he needed to get out. He didn't want to get out of my house. And I had threw all his stuff like outside. I was like, please just go. And so I knew that, you know, he was going to pick it up. And so I ended up shutting my door. Well, trying to shut my door because he kept trying to force his way back in, and he had broke my my door at that residence. And then he ended up leaving because he was mad because one of the items was his phone and it had broke. And he went over there to Temple Police Department and told them that I had broke his phone. And they had did their investigation, and then he ended up telling them what had happened, and they had seen all the evidence that he had put his hands on me and that we had got into an altercation and that he had broke my door and everything.
I apologize, Ms. Morales, I apologize for interrupting you. Just real quick, do you know approximately when this event was?
It was, I believe I have the date still. Let me see.
And you can approximate.
It was October 3rd, 2022.
And is that the incident that resulted in the criminal charges that Mr. Nash is currently facing?
Yes, he ended up getting arrested that night when they had came out to my house to see the house and to see the marks and stuff on me. And then they ended up taking him to jail that night and charging him with assault on a family member.
Thank you. Were you and Mr. Nash ever married?
No.
Did you live together?
Yes.
Approximately when did you split up?
It was, let's see, it was like, let's see, September, no, I think it was August of 2022, I believe. Oh, it's been so long.
No, sure. Well, I asked because I think earlier when we were speaking, I think you mentioned, or it was brought up something approximately September 1st, 2022. Would you have reason to disagree with that date?
No, it was probably like the end of August going into September. Yeah, it was like right there.
Thank you. Are you concerned that Mr. Nash might harm you if he had access to your address, phone number, email address, and employment information?
I wouldn't put it past him, but I just wanted it for my safety. For him not to know any of that.
Okay, and why was that? Why did you not want him to have that information?
It's good. This
okay, that's fine.
I'm gonna make a finding family violence in this in my case, and if it was a proper pleading before me, I would make sure that there was a protective order also. But you know that's not the case, so we're just gonna go ahead. But I will make that the father has committed family violence that meets the civil criteria for such, and you may proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Morales, have you been in regular contact with Mr. Nash?
No, not regular, because the only time that I would speak with him was whenever the days of his visitation, But even on those days, he wouldn't respond, or he would respond late, after like the visitation, and he'll tell me like, oh, well, we can just,
Ma'am, you're going past the question again. You answered it originally, said yeah. So we don't need to get into all the various details, but you testified to exactly the information needed, and the state may proceed to the next question. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Has Mr. Nash been visiting with your child?
No, not, he's only visited like 2 or 3 times since the last time that we were in court.
And approximately when was the last visit?
It was last year around, I think I have the month, because I do everything.
Last year is good enough, ma'am. But we're in month number 5 now, and he hadn't seen the child in 4 months. That's all I need to know. Thank you.
Thank you. And do you know if Mr. Nash has other children?
Yes,
And how many children?
he has 2 other children other than my son.
And do you know their approximate ages?
I believe one of his child is 1 year old, and then I believe they just had the other child this year.
And do you know if he has any child support obligations for those children?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. Do you know if he lives with them?
Yes, he does.
He does. Okay. And these are his biological children?
I believe so.
Okay. And do you have a preference for supervised or unsupervised visits between Mr. Nash and your child?
I would.
They're supervised, Ms. Hopkins. He's got the pending criminal. I can't take any chances on what if he gets parole or probation. Can't take any chances on those terms and conditions. So we got to set it up very, very modestly. Let's put it that way. Okay. So but I've got specific rulings to handle that until further order of the court. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Morales, do you have any concerns about co-parenting with Mr. Nash?
She's so.
Oh, she's okay. Well,
she's so.
There we go. And then in terms of the most recent temporary order, so one of the provisions, let me pull it up real quick. So there was a prohibition against drugs and alcohol during visits. Did you want that one to continue?
Yes.
And then communication through app close. Did you want that to continue?
Yes.
And then do you also have a concern about Mr. Nash smoking during visits?
Yes.
Can you explain?
Yeah, the visitation is going to be restricted to her presence or a designated agent. So yeah, that's not necessary. That's not necessary. He's not going to be all. She can just make. I won't allow him to smoke on the limited visitation I'm looking at giving him.
And then, do you know what Mr. Nash does for a living?
Right now, as of my knowledge, I don't think he's not working.
What did he used to do, ma'am? Because he used to make good money.
He was working at Wilson Art as one of the linemen, and then the last job that I knew that he was working at a junkyard, but I don't know how. Yeah.
All right. So when's the last time you worked at Wilson Art, ma'am?
I'm sorry?
You know when we left Wilson Art?
I believe he left Wilson Art December of 2022.
Okay, so that's well, okay. That's not that recent. All right, thank you.
And have you received any support from Mr. Nash for your child since your separation?
He's done a couple of payments through child support, but other than that, he hasn't like given me anything or anything. I haven't received anything other than what I've received through child support.
Understood. Do you know, I believe in our discussion, you said you believed it was $500. Does that sound correct?
So the $500 was before we had child support, before there was a ruling on how much child support, that was then, but during child support, I believe he's made 4 or 5 payments, but it was like one here, one there, one here, one there, and I believe those were whenever they were taking them out of his check when he was working.
Okay, I should have been more specific. So for the period between your separation, approximately September 1st, 2022, through the day before the child support order was in effect, so April 30th, 2024, the only payment has been the $500?
Yes.
Okay, no, it's okay. I mean, to the best of your knowledge.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to pressure you into an answer. You know, if there's something you wanted to add, feel free to do so.
Yeah, I was just confused. So the 500 was whenever we didn't have a ruling, we didn't have child support. That was when I had told him I needed stuff for my son because I wasn't working, because I was on maternity leave. But he's made a couple payments through child support, but I wouldn't know the amounts. I don't have the amount on me right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. Thank you, ma'am. And then coming to an end of my questions, just let's switch gears real quick. Do you currently provide private health insurance to your child through employment or another source?
No, he receives Medicaid
Okay.
for
And
dental and medical.
Okay. So you don't do you provide private dental insurance for your child through employment or another source?
No, it's through Medicaid as well.
And how many other children aside from TJ do you provide that Medicaid for?
One more, my daughter.
Thank you. And then this question, it may seem odd, but it's more for going to the court costs issue. Do you know if Mr. Nash has ever served in the military or been a first responder?
No.
Thank you. Your Honor, I pass the witness. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Cusack, you're a witness again.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Morales, on the retro and arrearage issue. So to clean up the start date, you actually separated in August of 2022, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then so the first month of retro would have been September 1st, 2022, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So that's where that confusion
Yes,
was.
yes, because that's what they had said, they had to be like that next month.
The first
was-
of the
yeah.
next, exactly. So on that retro period, which started September 1, 2022 until the end of the month before regular child support starts. That's when Ms. Hopkins came up with the amount for retroactive child support. And then he really had not paid anything except for maybe you estimated about $500 towards that retro, right?
Yes.
Once child support started in April of 2024, and that was the $287 in child support, and I think 43 on cash medical, you started receiving other payments, but those went through the state disbursement unit through child support, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
if the state has a financial activity report that shows those payments, then we can figure out what he's behind on the temporary up until basically today, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We've talked about non-disclosure. The issue about the altercation, you explained the altercation to me that caused him to be arrested. His stuff was already outside and then he came back in and then there was a struggle, right? Or you were already putting his stuff outside and he came back in, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
At some point, did he push you into a door frame?
Yes, he did.
Okay. And then is that when you took his phone and threw it outside?
No, that was before.
Okay.
He had grabbed me around my neck and my chest, and that he pushed, like he shoved me into the door frame in my living room. And then my son and my daughter started crying, asking him to stop. And I told him to please stop, to not do this in front of them. And then he continued to just yell and scream at me. And that's whenever my daughter had came up and pushed him, and I got away from him and I grabbed my daughter, and then I grabbed his stuff and I told him, I was like, please just go, like, and I was putting it outside and I was like, please, like, you're doing this in front of the kids. They don't need to see this.
Let me go ahead and stop you. So, when all of this happened, I think you explained that you threw something out there because you knew he would go get it and then you could close the door, right?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. And then after that altercation, he's the one who called the police because he was upset about his phone being broken, right?
Yes.
And then when they looked at your injuries, when the police looked at your injuries, did you actually have a cut to the head where you were bleeding?
Yes, it was the back of my head whenever I hit the door frame.
Did you know that you had that before the police looked at you?
No, I didn't until they looked at me and they had seen like bruises and marks on my face. And then they had saw on the back of my head that I had a cut on the back of it from hitting the door frame.
And one other issue about any concerns for supervised, was there also an incident where CPS was involved and they are subsequently off the case, like that's closed out, but was there something dealing with your son's elbow?
Yes.
And he ended up something called nursemaid's elbow, right?
Yes, my son's arm had got dislocated during a supervised visit that was supposed to be supervised by his mother at the time. And neither his mom nor him knew what happened, but when I took him to the emergency room, they had said that he had dislocated and it had to be with force. It wasn't something that he just fell and accidentally, dislocated it. And then eventually, this past year, his mother had told me that my son was falling off of the bed and his dad had yanked him, dislocating his arm, but I don't know if that's completely true.
And to isolate that time, you actually, when you picked up the baby from the visitation, you put the baby in the car seat and you noticed something was wrong, right?
Yes.
So you didn't take him home and then find something and take him to the ER. You took him straight from the visitation to the ER, right?
Yes.
Okay. We've covered retro. I don't have any other questions, Judge.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anything on redirect, Ms. Opens?
Yeah, Your Honor, I just wanted to briefly clarify. So you'd said that the first child outside of the order was born approximately a year ago. Is that what you said, Ms. Morales?
Yes.
Okay. So during the retroactive period, so we're talking about the period from September 1st, 2022 through April 30th, 2024. Do you know if Mr. Nash had any other children during that time?
No. He only had my son and then his other son that he had, because the other child wasn't born until this year.
Okay. Do you know approximately, you say it was a year ago that the first child was born? To the best of your knowledge, you know when that might have been?
I think I have the date.
And I'm only asking, Your Honor, just to make sure.
Yeah, and we just need the month, man. We don't need the date. So if you know which month the child was born in 2024.
I believe it was December 2023.
Okay.
December of 2023. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Your Honor, I have no further questions.
All right, anything else of the witness, Ms. Cusack?
No, Your Honor.
All right. All right, ladies, let's get a closing to tell record everything that y'all are requesting. Then I'll give Ms. Morales the opportunity to add one final thing, and then I think I'm ready to rule. So at this time, I'll start with the head item, then go to the state, and then see if Mr. Morales has anything else. Thank you.
Judge, I'm asking for Ms. Morales to be named sole managing conservator, Mr. Nash to be appointed possessory conservator. I'm asking for visitation to stay the same as it is right now. Obviously, with the provision that if Morales wants to open that up to broader periods of possession, she can at her discretion. I would ask that the parties communicate using app close. I would ask for a prohibition against smoking around the child. As far as support goes, I would ask for a finding of retroactive support payable at the amount the state suggested. I would also ask for either a finding on the arrears for the temporary orders, or I don't know if on the final order we can just keep that same April 1st. Oh no, because it's a different amount. So I would ask for whatever he owes on those temporary orders to be made a judgment as well. And non-disclosure obviously as well. And that's all I have, Judge.
All right, Ms. Hopkins.
Your Honor, in terms of, finalizing the order, the state would not be opposed to sole managing conservatorship, to Ms. Cusack's recommendation for visitation. In terms of the retroactive support, Your Honor, I'm trying to recalculate just based on the information we have about the other child. I probably may need 4 minutes maybe to do that, to finish that up. In terms of the arrears, I wasn't prepared to discuss that. I don't know that we need to get into that since, we'll have the retroactive support. We do have the prior order with the amount that was ordered.
So reduce the judgment to unpaid child support amount that should have come through during this time frame. It's gonna come out to another obviously it sounds like about another $2,000 on top of everything else. So you need to probably adjust the repayment, but based on what the retro that y'all have asked me for and what the extra repayment it would be, I'll be looking at ordering this gentleman to pay make a repayment of an additional $100 a month. That'll cover it. That's interest plus probably maybe not all the way up to 50, but it will cover the interest and get rid of some of it. Okay.
So the $100 is that for the retroactive?
That's for everything. That's for the retro plus the unpaid child support amount. So
okay.
So you can add those all together and then make that. In fact, let's go ahead and make it 125. Let's just go ahead and make it 125. So yeah.
So the 125 is for the arrears and the retroactive.
Right. So let's all make them all part of one judgment. So yeah. Off the top of my head, 50 plus the regular child support, not the arrearages, but the retro would be $100 even. So let's just go ahead and make this 125 then.
Okay. Let me, Your Honor, I didn't put the FINA into evidence. So I may have to do that. Am I able to have just a short recess to finish up my calculations and then get the FINA recess?
Yeah, you got a 15-minute recess. Okay, sorry then.
Wonderful. Even better.
I need to get out of here, but yeah, okay. Anyway, let's get this one wrapped up, and I'll be back on the bench at 1 o'clock. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Your Honor.
And we're off the record for a few minutes while the state gets the final math. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
So I recalculated through that. I think we started with the third quarter of 2022 through the fourth quarter of 2023. I changed the percentage guideline from 17.5% to 20%. And so based on that, and no additional changes to quarter one or quarter two of 2024, I came up with a total arrearage of $6,919.51. I subtracted the $500 direct payment. So I came up with $6,419.51. In terms of the arrears, I did email everyone the financial activity report. My guess is, because I don't want this to get bounced back by our financial area in the future, we probably have to break down.
Just go ahead and make it two separate judgments and two separate amounts. That way financial won't have a problem with it, okay?
All right, so
And
for
I'll
the
come up with a different
arrears,
amount for both of them based on that, because I keep forgetting your guys don't know how to do a merge with an Excel spreadsheet. Sorry about that. So yeah.
so for the
So for the child
arrear-
support for the retro, 50 plus interest would be $80. So I'll go ahead and order on the retro repayment of $85 a month.
$85, okay, and that's as of June 1st.
Yeah.
Okay.
As of yeah, if you need June 1st instead of May 30, instead of the repayment's going to be on that date. Yeah, the repayment starts the 1st of June. Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Right,
And-
and then as of date, would it be as of
You can make it as of the 30th of April if you want to.
okay, will that mess with the arrearage?
Okay, so
judgment
you-
date?
Okay, so so you can make that as the 30th of April also, and I've got your states exhibit number 1 here. And I'll add, folks, I've got states 1 right here. I'm marking it. This is the financial activity report. This is the money that should have been paid under the original temporary order in this matter. Any objection to the court having this information, Ms. Cusack?
No, Your Honor.
Any objection, Ms. Morales? You muted, ma'am.
No, Your Honor.
All right, so states 1 is going to be admitted. And looks like he owes about 1,000. Okay, I'm on the wrong page. Let me get to the right page. Looks like he owes as of the 30th of yesterday, it looks like he owes $1,142.62 in unpaid child support, Ms. Hopkins.
That's correct.
All right then, and cash medicals 316.36 or it's 315.03. I know you guys sometimes, but I'm not sure which one of those y'all like to use because there's 2 different ones for that as of the same date. But the last one,
Yeah, I think. Oh, go ahead, Your Honor.
the last one is the 316.36. So I think that's the one we should use. But
I know that sometimes with our financial area, I know that like they're limited, I guess, in how they can enter certain orders, or dates. So
Okay.
I don't know if it would be best, and I'll just throw this out there in terms of the effective date for the retroactive child support. I was going to propose April 30th, 2024, since that's the day before the May 1st, 2024 effective date.
okay, that'll work.
So we'll do that for the arrears. And then, or I'll propose that. That's your decision, of course. And then for the arrears, I guess let me
Which amounts? Which are the 2 amounts you want to use? Which ones you want to use? It's the same amount on this for both 430 for the child support, but there's 2 different small. They're very insubstantial. There's not substantial between the 2 of the for the cash medical. So just tell me which one you'd like to use, and we'll go ahead and set that up also.
Okay, well, I was going to propose, and I think Ms. Cusack had an argument about it, but I was going to propose basing the current child support on the minimum wage, just based on the lack of information we had. Of course, you correctly pointed out that, a lot of his wages reflect higher than minimum
You have to
wage.
go into that. Mom said that he's left Ralph Wilson a long time ago, and that's where the money was coming in. That's the good job. The rest of the stuff is pretty much non-existent. Well, not very consistent, and so I'll go with minimum on that. So yes.
So that would be, I believe it's 180. Let me make sure.
Okay. Well, I still want to get back to the unpaid child support and unpaid cash medical. That's what I'm looking at.
Okay, let me just grab something real quick. Yeah, and I would just say for the record, so the amount that I calculated for the current child support, $181 a month,
Okay.
and then cash medical of $28 per month. That's what I calculated based on
All right.
minimum
1
wage.
child in, 2 out. Got it. Yes, ma'am.
Correct. And then for the so I think we've established the arrears, I think. So the effective date of the arrears, April 30th, 2024, with a repayment of $85 per month as of June 1st, 2025.
Correct.
And I think the arrears, I don't know, let me just check something real quick.
Retro? Are we talking about retro?
No, I talk about arrears.
The arrears that you
Hang on.
proposed, yeah.
Right. No, well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I thought we were talking about the retro, sorry, yeah, we're talking about a retro.
Well, because she said as of, I thought she
Yeah,
meant
yeah,
like
that's
ending
retro, that's,
April.
yeah, that's the retro, not the arrears. The arrears are what, gonna be due as of, this month, so yeah.
Okay, so the retro, it would be would it be as of April 30th, 2024? The
Correct.
day before the
The
May 1st, 2024, okay.
Right,
So got that. And then for arrears, typically it's the last day of the prior month. I know that sometimes with financial, they sort of, the date that you have is the judgment date. You can't go before it. I think it's like there's like a wall there.
y'all got two different amounts as of, there's one for one of the 30th of April is $315.03, and then you got the second one as of the 30th of April, $316.36. I don't care, we're talking about a less than $1 difference. So, well, I'm sorry, we're talking about $1.33 difference. So there's no big whoop. I just need to know which one you want to use in order repayment on both of those.
I apologize for interrupting. It's the very last one.
Okay, so let's go with the $316.36 as unpaid medical, and the $1,142.62 of unpaid child support, and I'm ordering repayment on the unpaid child support at an additional let's go with that one as an additional $40 a month, and on the unpaid cash medical at an additional $15 a month.
And those are both effective June 1st.
Both those start June 1st.
Right, and then in terms of court costs, Your Honor.
He's responsible, and he has until the until the 31st day of May 2026.
I think we covered everything. Oh, did you want to add? I know that
Oh, I still got to make a ruling on some of the stuff I was going to do as far as
Oh, I'm
possessory conservatorship, but other than that, yeah. I was going to ask y'all, is there anything else the state's requesting we do here today?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Kuzak, I'm looking at naming mom, like I say, mom's sole MC. She's got all the rights under sole managed conservator. I'm naming dad possessory, but the only rights or obligation I'm giving him an obligation to pay child support, cash medical, and unpaid payments of anything he hasn't paid. I'm giving him the right to have the court order visitation that has been testified to and the court is granting going forward. But all other rights under possessory conservatorship are reserved till he comes back in and shows the court an update on whether or not he has a criminal family violence conviction finding, because I've already done a civil one, and if he's on any type of probation or parole, what his is going to be more like it's going to be probation unless he goes to jail. So any probation or parole, what his terms and conditions of those are. Until I know that, I'm not giving him any additional rights under the conservatorship. He's the one that committed the by the clear and convincing standard assault on a family member, as far as I'm concerned, and we'll see whether or not he gets above and beyond a reasonable doubt on with the criminal one. So, is there anything else the ad litem will be requesting as far as the father having rights under possessive conservatorship? Under
the conservatorship, no, Your Honor.
All right. Anything else you're requesting in for your client on this one, then, Ms. Cusack?
On the visitation, I'm just asking to take what was in the temporary order and make that a final order.
Yeah, I thought that's what was agreed to. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then the injunctions about smoking and
doing it all the smoking, no alcohol, no drug use, nothing that's not prescribed medication at least 24 hours in advance. Yes.
And then app close, Judge?
Oh yeah, I thought I'm confirming app close going forward. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It's already in the temporary order, right?
I'm sorry, Judge?
App close is already in the temporary order, correct?
Yes, Judge. I believe it was.
Yeah, so all right. Okay.
All
right.
We're just taking the temporary order and then making the financial changes.
Correct.
Okay.
Except in the conservatorship parts, yeah, that's like I said, it's
right.
He's a possessory, but he doesn't. He's got to come back and show me what's going on with that criminal before I give him anything else. All right.
All right. Thank you, Judge. I have nothing else.
All right, Ms. Morales, anything else, ma'am?
No, sir.
All right, So much you want so Ms. Morales free to go, or you want to back in breakout room where you prepared this long thing, this long involved order?
I think it's okay to, because I have another case I have to work with Ms. Cusack, so I think it's okay for Ms. Morales to go. If you don't mind if just so I make sure I get this right, visitation from the most recent temporary order, we're gonna make that final. There's already a statement about that Mr. Nash refrained from alcohol or drugs, that sort of thing. So do you want me to add an injunction on smoking as well?
Yes.
Were there any other injunctions? I think there was something about corporal punishment.
Well, again, yeah, well, you can put that in there, and the father's not allowed to do any form of corporal punishment.
And I was more concerned about that in case of the arm issue, Judge. I
Yeah,
didn't know.
that's right. Yeah, I got that. That wasn't corporal punishment. That was child abuse, but we're not going to go there. Okay. So yeah.
And then app close, continue that.
Yes, ma'am.
And then do you mind repeating? I apologize. The only rights Mr. Nash has as a possessory are to pay child support and
The obligation to pay child support under the court order and the right to the court ordered visitation that the court granted. Those are the only two rights under possessory conservatorship that the court's granting at this time. All else are held in abatement until he comes back and gives the court the necessary information to do something further. In other words, until further order of the court.
Your Honor, I don't think I have anything else. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Morales. You're free to go, and good luck, ma'am. And like I said, you'll be getting a copy of this along the sign off on by DocuSign. And good luck to you, ma'am. And we're off the record. Thank you.
Thank you.
Judge.
Have a good Mother's Day, ma'am. Take care of those kids. Take care of that.
Thank you.
Child, okay, thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
I know you got an extra one. I know there's another one. I'm sorry.
Oh, yes.
Take care of the kids, okay? No problem.